Today on the 5-Minute Bark, we've got the marriage boss, Rick Gabrielly, here today. He is now in San Diego with me, so we're doing a live interview here on set at the 5-Minute Bark. And out here today, we're going to talk. We talked for Valentine's Day, but today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. We're going to talk about single men instead this time around. And we're going to kind of roll into that and see how that plays versus a married man and a single man, and how maybe the single man can learn from the married man. So we've got Rick Gabrielly from the Marriage Boss today. Say hello, Rick.
Hey, what's up, Dennis?
How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
And no, thanks for coming over here. Rick is under the weather here today, so he's just determined, as an entrepreneur always is, to just enjoy his time here in San Diego as much as he possibly can. It's beautiful out right now, too, and he's about to take a ride up the coast to the Chopra Center. I'm really excited about that, and he is living the life and living on the cliffs of La Jolla while he's out here. So life could, I guess, it can get a little bit better by being better. But
dude, this is pretty good, man. I can't complain.
Yeah, right. This is the best sickness, the best way to be when you're sick, right?
It's terrific.
So I guess tell the audience about the Marriage Boss and the whole concept.
Well, Dennis, my brand, The Marriage Boss, helps men open up and communicate more often and more effectively with their women, and mostly husbands and wives. But what we've tried to do is to get men to come out and be more willing to communicate in their relationships.
And that's it?
That's it, man.
That's simple?
In a nutshell.
All right.
Yeah.
So in their relationships, the advice you've given, is it take a week, one session, a month? How long can this therapy, I guess you call it?
Yeah, I guess, well, it's coaching. So this certainly, if a guy comes to me and says, look, I want to be able to, have a deeper connection with my wife, change my business life because I've been, dragging at home and I'm taking it to work with me, have a better sex life. All of these things are variables. And depending on how willing the guy is to do the work, it's not really like a couple's thing necessarily. It's each person has to look in the mirror and do their own work. So a lot of times if I talk to a couple, each person will tell me, it's the other person's fault. So can you fix him? And then I say to the wife, listen, you got to look in the mirror. It's me and you. Let's work this out. And if a guy says to me, it's her fault, can you fix her? I tell him he's got to look in the mirror. He's got to do the work. So ironically, even though it's a couples program, it's really a one-on-one coaching. So I've done a lot of couples coaching them together, but ultimately I work with them individually too on the side to help them do the work. So we all have to do that work personally.
Yeah. One thing comes to mind right now in thinking about this is when you're in the process of coaching these things, can you see signals of change?
I can. What I see first is a little bit of stepping back. So when people first come to me, I'll find that they kind of step back a bit. So they have intentions to do the work, but when they find out what's got to happen, it's daunting. This is something that some of these patterns have been built into us since we're little kids. And certainly when we get into relationships, we sometimes get into them for the wrong reasons. When we're younger, if we have this picture that we want to fulfill, part of that is finding a significant other, getting married, having kids, having a business. And I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. So we entrepreneurs are very often married to our businesses. Could be 24/7. So it makes it hard to have a relationship and really hard to find the time to cultivate and nurture a relationship with another person. So what I find a lot is that we're holding back in the beginning, and then it takes a little bit of work to get them to open up.
And being that it's entrepreneurs, obviously that person that they're with, they have to commit to understanding that they have to be a person that has their own life, especially a woman. In the case of a woman or a man, they both have to have their own lives. They have to have their own things that they do on a constant basis, because that person is going to be devoted day in, day out to their job. And if you're in that needy situation where it's a needy guy or a needy woman, it's really going to be difficult for anything to work, the business or the relationship.
It is tough. And, if the person is supportive of their spouse, that's the best scenario. So, take my example.
You talked about that.
My wife says, go do whatever, go make things happen, go be yourself. She's been 100% supportive of me since day one. So it's easy for me.
Right.
I don't have the same problems other people have. If I had a spouse who wasn't so supportive, it would be much more difficult. So, one message out there, if you are the spouse of an entrepreneur, and I've written a bunch of stuff on this, you've got to know how to live with an entrepreneurial person. There are certain things that you've got to know to be successful. And, support is the first thing. You've got to say, I'm in this for the long run. There's going to be a lot of failure, but there is in everybody's life. But certainly in the life of an entrepreneur, it can be, daily failure.
Right.
And but there's a lot to say for supporting a person that you're with, 100%.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you get that support.
You and I we went for a walk on the beach yesterday, and we were talking, and we grabbed a coffee, and we met this beautiful young lady, and she had explained that her mom had told her that, just make sure you find a guy that's financially, not only just financially well off, but actually spends his money wisely, right?
Yeah.
And us as guys, the first thing we think of in a lot of cases is, oh, she's after me for my money, if I'm a successful person, of course, or, these kind of things that just come default in our head. But being that I had 3 sisters, I saw how my dad took care of my sisters. They got to college, they got the car, they got the gas card, they got all these things. And my brother and I, we had to fend for ourselves. So by default, we're teaching our daughters or children or women to, rely on a peer as they go on. And so a lot of people just expect that to just kind of go away, and that's not going to go away because that's the way they were brought up.
Yeah.
And, sure, there's women out there that are totally self-sufficient and they do a great job of it. But in the most cases, that's one of the fears we go into a relationship with that automatically puts some baggage on it that may never happen.
Yep.
But can you speak on that?
Yeah, we call it the provide, protect mentality. Mm-hmm. So men are supposed to provide and protect. And speaking about this young lady, she may have a hard time finding the right relationship. She might miss a guy who really looks like the guy she wants and has a great personality like she wants, but he doesn't have any money. So her story, her pattern, this is basically given to her at a young age, might cause her to miss the man of her dreams. Because if he doesn't have the money yet, she might not give him a date.
Right.
So, or she might go out with him when she finds out he doesn't have any money, or he's not making what she wants yet, or he doesn't have any future. She might let him go. So I would totally disagree with that. I would not tell my kids you should marry for money. Now I have 2 sons.
Right.
So I can't say that, I can't, if I had a daughter, maybe I'd say, listen, you should find a guy who's financially successful. I don't know if I would or not.
Right.
But I just know that it narrows the field, and it makes the universe of candidates smaller. So it's hard when you do that to kids.
Well, I know from experience, and when I was in relationships, I've had relationships that were very successful, and the word team was in that relationship all the time. Mm-hmm. Literally doubled my company within a year or 2 of that relationship because wow. I had that person that understood, that person I would bounce off things and so on and so forth. And it made a big difference when you had somebody supportingly, kind of like your wife supports you.
Yep.
Right. So if you're that guy that doesn't have the money and you're that woman that likes a guy, if you're in his life, they always say that behind every good man is a good woman. Yeah. And if the right woman comes into life, you can certainly motivate that guy, and you're certainly entitled to half of who he is because you helped him be who he is. And and being those guys in those pitches, they're glad to give it to you because you are part of them. You're a team. You're a collection together. Whether of course you're not working for them, but you're his life coach, right? In a sense, you're his life coach because you're keeping him motivated. You're keeping him happy, mentally, physically, sexually. But it's certainly a team in that situation works really well. So if we're talking for those women out there that are looking for that guy that's well off, or that guy that, God, this guy right here strikes me, but he's just not in a good financial position, but maybe he's not with the right woman, or vice versa. Because I have been successful and had the wrong woman, and I remember making decisions where I'm literally like, she's begging me to come to her house, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to my house, but I got, money on the line. I used to be a day trader in stocks and stuff like that. And literally I remember making bad decisions over and over again. I mean, I remember one decision, literally on the way to her house, I lost $15,000 in a trade because I wasn't doing what I should have been doing. But she wasn't supporting me in that way. So the money kept on crumbling and crumbling and crumbling. So there's the two sides to the story. So if you find somebody that's not a team player and understanding who you are, right, then
yeah, and you know, this team thing is important, because if a woman sees that the man has the right ingredients, but he just hasn't met with the right support yet. I mean, my wife's a perfect example. I could not do what I'm doing without her support and without her guidance. My life, my family, it's a laboratory for this kind of stuff. I mean, we're talking about marriage, we're talking about business, we're talking about lives that matter, and creating this, you know, a higher quality marriage, family, and business. And the way you do that is with two people or four people or a family. And so I think the team concept is essential. And,
absolutely.
You know, my wife was a banker when I met her. I was a salesman. And so we did have those two, you know, polar opposite personalities, where she was more of a saver, I was more of a risk taker. And so it's worked good for us, because we've been able to allow each other to use our strengths in the relationship. And but I could not do what I'm doing without her. So
no.
She might even be more than half of, you know, my success.
So there is two sides that we can look at this. There's the woman's side. It's obviously you have to respect that they want security financially, and just in the human being that's creating the security for them when they're out and about. They're attractive human beings, so they're going to attract a lot of attention. And there's also the man that can be either very entrepreneurial, but like Bill Gates, starting from nothing, and before you know it, he's the richest man in the world. And somebody took investment in him and became the richest wife in the world.
True. Yeah.
So you hear about that a lot. And those relationships seem to work when they start from nothing together. They have that story together. I have a local restaurant here that they started with nothing, and they built the restaurants together, and they grew it together, and nobody can ever take that away. The experience of both the relationship and the growing of the business is something special. Even if the relationship does end, is still something that you created together that will always be there. So tell me now, we were talking about dating and the dating scene here in San Diego and singles. Right.
So what do you think is the challenge for most singles today? What do you think is the challenge for, let's say, you know, people over 30 years old? You know, what is the biggest challenge? You're a single guy. What is the biggest challenge you face with finding the right woman?
Biggest challenge I have faced in my life, and even to this day, is having the confidence. Really, confidence overcomes everything. Overcomes money. It overcomes everything. If you have the confidence, then you really will succeed in a relationship, or at least starting one. Right. Sometimes the confidence can get in the way of it if you're bullying it. But I've learned that once I've worked on my confidence, it just changes things quite a bit. You know, you're able to just go up. One of my guests on the show, he said, outside my comfort zone, he said, I missed an opportunity to talk to this girl once, and I'll never do it again. Wow. You know, because you have to have that confidence to go up and actually talk to them, because you can instantly get in your head that she doesn't want to talk to me. I'm bothering her. I'm just, and the confidence goes down. So you have to just jump on it. If you find somebody you like, as much as they say sometimes they don't, you know, appreciate you being aggressive. They love the aggressiveness. Women tend to say what they don't want.
Well, I think you got to do it anyway. I mean, even if whether they like it or not, if you're going to, you know, try to meet someone, you've got to be willing. You got to have the guts.
Yeah, I mean, it was the old saying when you were in high school that, you know, the jerk always got the cute girl. You know. Yeah. But he treats her like crap. Remember, you could always hit. He treats her like crap, but he always had the prom queen. Yep. I don't know the theory behind that, and you may know more about that, but I think he had the confidence, right? Yeah. Because nobody else has the confidence or the throne-like attitude to go up to the throne and bring her there. So there's something to do with that, and maybe you could share about.
Well, I think if a guy has that kind of confidence, especially when we're younger, you know, girls are enamored by, you know, either tough guys or, you know, bad boys and that type of thing. But once they get older, they start to learn, you know, these guys might not be, you know, the right guy for me long term. Right. So I think that, you know, in thinking back when I was younger, I was very, you know, intimidated, you know, to go up to girls and to ask girls out. So I was kind of waiting and just like sit. I was one of those guys who just sat back. And maybe I'll get an opportunity. A friend will tell, you know, her that I like her or something like that. Man, it was all by referral based.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think a lot of guys learn how to do that when they're younger. You know, we're told, oh, just go up to her and ask her out, but we're horrified.
Yeah.
I think the problem is we don't want to fail. So if we were to ask the real one that we wanted out and she says no, then we feel like we're done.
Right.
But, you know, would we take a chance on asking someone that we didn't want to go out with? What if she says yes, then I got to go out with her?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of challenges with that stuff. And you know what? It's no different than now when we're older in business, taking opportunities and seeing that, you know, we might have a chance to get into another business deal or, you know, do something in our entrepreneurial ways, you know, pitch a big company like we were talking about today, pitching, you know, CEOs about, you know, doing this tech stuff. And, you know, we tend not to want to lose.
Right.
But I think we're learning now as a society, if we fail more, you know, this event I was at this weekend, this guy Armand, he said, you have to ask for it. You have to actually ask for failure.
Yep.
Goes that far.
Yeah, because you're gonna fail more than you succeed. It's just the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
That's what life is all about. It's learn from a mistake.
Yeah.
If instant manifestation happened, then it would be a disaster, because if we had I want $1 billion to slap into this here, you know, now we'd be worried about who's going to rob me, who's going to ask me for money. So it just, you know, whereas if you earn the money over time and you appreciate it, then there's a different ballgame.
You have a chance to learn how to manage it.
Right.
Yep.
And the same thing with women, you know, same with relationships. If it just kind of came to you, then you wouldn't have the respect for that relationship, and so on and so forth.
Well, I think what guys have to do today is they have to really think about, you know, what they want a relationship to look like. You know, women do this all the time. They write lists and they write letters and they document what they want. And men have to do the same thing. We have to decide what we want in a woman and, you know, who we're willing to be in that relationship. And I think we have to do the work on ourselves, really be, you know, a partner and just go into it open arms. You know, we can't manipulate situations.
Right.
Really have to try to be genuine. And I think that's what women appreciate. That they appreciate honesty, integrity, and you know, those kind of things. You know, money can really be kind of secondary, but you know, it's
absolutely. So your title of your book, I'm very curious of it. Uncovering the Hidden Currency of Marriage.
Yeah.
Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, I have a theory that all the riches in our life, not only financial riches, but spiritual, emotional, physical riches, can come from uncovering, cultivating, and celebrating the gifts in our wives, in our women. So too often I saw men in relationships not really seeing the gifts in their wives. So, you know, they saw their wife as maybe, you know, a partner in some way, you know, someone to raise the kids, or, you know, it goes all the way as far as to be, you know, someone who cooks and cleans and, you know, provides whatever, like housewives of the past. And so I felt like we were missing a lot of the gifts, business gifts, advice, strategic planning, handling money. So I think it's time for men to see their women as equals, or if not, you know, better than them in so many categories. So take my example. My wife is better with money than me. My wife is very level-headed about strategies. My wife is a good sounding board. If I come up with a harebrained scheme and I run it by her, she says, that's never going to work, dude. Forget that. That's ridiculous, man. So she can save me a lot of time. She can save money. She can provide strategies, and she's a terrific business person. She's very structured and organized, and I'm not. So once I figured out, you know, I uncovered these gifts, and then I cultivated them and celebrate them. Well, now it's like we're in this thing together. So the currency in a marriage is really those gifts. So if we could find the gifts in each other, that can be currency, not necessarily like money, but it can turn into money. But it really turns into value. And so uncovering the hidden currency of marriage is to find those gifts in your wife or your husband, and then cultivate and celebrate them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now I know what it means. So this book, can people find it on your website? Or
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Amazon, okay.
Kindle and print.
Okay.
And it's on my website. And, terrific stuff in there. Each chapter has these action steps at the end that you can take. There's even a PDF version of it that you can fill in online.
Oh, great.
And you can kind of go back over it. And I've got a Money Mojo workbook and lots of different tools. If you go to my resources page, it's themarriageboss.com/resources. There's tons of free stuff on there and great tools, trackers for your finances. This Money Mojo journal, all free downloads. And you can get a lot of good stuff.
I guess a lot of stuff pertains to money because money definitely ruins marriages.
It does, it's
right?
something. Yeah, and it's something that we all should know how to handle and learn. You can learn a lot about managing money and making money through this work.
Yep, awesome, Rick. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Dennis.
This is great. Went really well, and I hope you enjoy your trip here in San Diego. I'm sure you will.
Thank you, buddy.
To the best of your abilities or your health right now.
Cool. You've been a great host, too.
No, thank you.
You've been a great host.
It's been fun. It's been really fun, and hopefully we'll get to spend more time together.
Thank you, buddy.
So again, everybody, Rick Gabrielly, the marriage boss. If you're looking for help in your relationships, especially men, he is the man. I've met some of the people he's worked with, along with people, the coaches around him, talk good about him. So he's got a good head on his shoulders. So we got Rick Gabrielly here today on the 5 Minute Bark. Thanks again, Rick.
All right. Thank you, Dennis.
All right.